All right, so we are on live. This is episode 9,
Something.
part 2 of Who the Hell Are We?
Exactly.
Or something of that nature. I'm Damian Mel, and this is...
Me and Mel.
And we are both co-founders. I'm CEO
We
and she's...
established that we're married.
And she's president.
Last time.
Yes, I'm in charge. I'm fully in charge
Ooh,
here.
it's hot.
I'm in charge. Whenever Mia's not here, I am fully in charge. Just want everybody to know that. And if you're married, you understand what I'm saying. When she is not here, I'm fully in charge.
It's totally true.
Yeah, so
where did we leave off? I did listen to the podcast this morning, just to catch up.
Just to see what we sounded like, see what you sounded like.
I can't remember where we left off.
Well, okay, so if you guys listened to part 1, which was episode 8, we were talking about where we met, how our career started. We walked through all the different businesses that we've had over the years, obviously starting in real estate and then going into clothing online. I'm looking at the board of clothing online mall,
Dr. Drywall,
school,
network engineering.
You working at Venice Beach selling
cocktail
candles,
waitressing, Venice Beach, Heart of Wax.
and in the middle of all that,
the company was called Heart of Wax.
And in the middle of all that, I mean, we did do millions of dollars worth of sales. So
we
that's
did,
and that was probably
a
time span of about 6-7 years. It's maybe 6 years, about 6 years.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that, 6 years. So, okay, so now we're kind of, now we're into
what year?
2021, 2000. We're like around 2000, 2001.
Oh, yeah, we were just getting into real estate.
Yep,
the real estate situation, and then we said that should be part 2.
Yeah.
So this is part 2.
Very good.
Oh, my gosh. We should mention we have a mixer tonight.
Well,
I mean, no,
when people listen to this, the mixer...
It's going to be tomorrow or whenever.
Okay, no, when people listen to this, it'll be next week because we'll be on vacation, and so we're filming in advance. So if you have a time machine, you can come back to our mixer.
This is just like, it's been a crazy day because like one thing, and it's like.
Yeah, well, you were just downstairs filming.
I was just doing a post for Holton Palm, and then I was doing something else, and I can't even remember now.
Okay, so we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later. So
real estate.
So
how'd we get into real estate?
We got back into real estate because of your brother.
Back into real estate
because of your brother.
Yeah,
he was doing foreclosure work in Minnesota.
That's true. So we were doing.
Somebody roped us into it.
I don't know what was happening, but we were like, no, I totally remember there was something sad going on. Heart of Wax.
We lost our business?
Yeah, so
a couple of our big clients went bankrupt.
We had the whole candle company situation. That was good for like a couple of years. And then 9/11 happened. Everything went to hell, basically. And I just remember that you came in my office one day because we had a really big warehouse and everything in Ontario. And you told me we're going out of business. You must have kept things from me back then because
you're too fragile.
I had no idea. And I was just like, okay. So that was that. And then
it kind of happened out of the blue because I remember we had 2 giant semis pull away from our docks, fully loaded with pallets of product. And the bank called me and said, did they leave yet with your product? I said, yeah, why? He said, because the company
BK.
just filed BK. He goes, but if it's on the truck, you can't have it. It's part of the bankruptcy.
That's not cool.
It was like over $200,000 and some worth of product.
Wasn't that like a subsidiary of Home Depot? House to Home?
No, not Home Depot. It was Home Base. It was
Home Base, which is not even around anymore either.
No. John's Incredible Pizza is located at one of their locations now in Montclair.
Yeah, where John's Incredible Pizza is in Montclair.
That was one of their stores. They had multiples.
It used to be a House to Home, right?
Yeah, it was called. It was Home Base, which was
like a Home Depot.
It was like a Home Depot,
which is not in business anymore.
Correct. And then they
had a home section.
Because Home Depot and Lowe's kind of took the market, they converted their business model into
House to Home, which I think was
it was like
made
a giant
to compete with Great Indoors.
It was,
which is not around
which
anymore.
Was owned by Sears,
oh my gosh.
And it was a higher level of Bed Bath and Beyond, so it had more stuff in it. It had home furnishings.
So that was a big account for us. It was like over $100,000.
It was like $250,000 worth of product.
We made candles for like a month to fulfill this order.
But then also, right a week later, we also had a huge account, Skin Market, which they were national.
Oh yeah, they were like a tween-ish.
Yeah, they were national. There was one in Montclair Plaza. They were all over. They were financed by the Walmart family, and the Walmart family, the daughters got a new financial advisor, looked at that portfolio and said, you need to back out of this business. As soon as they did that, that business shut their doors.
They were like I don't even think Sephora was around back then. They were like a Sephora for tweens, which they don't even talk about tweens anymore, but tween was like 9 to 13 or something like that.
No.
Like that demographic? No,
they don't talk about tweens anymore.
Before teen, it was called tween. They were in between.
Well, now you just go from 1 to 8, then you just switch genders and it's off to the races.
But no, like
we don't care about
the
tweens.
Tween market was a thing back then. So there was like kids, and then there was teenagers, and then there was people in between. They call that tween.
So either way, though, they had also a couple $100,000 worth of our product,
and
they also closed down. And the crazy thing is, so when House to Home filed bankruptcy, the trustee sent us a letter saying that we want to claw back $180,000 worth of previous payments.
Cool.
I basically sent them the middle finger and said, "Good luck getting that back from me." But yeah, that's what happens when your business is undercapitalized. You're growing quickly. You have lots of orders, and we still had lots of orders. When we shut down our operation, we probably had about $350,000 worth of unfilled orders, but we just could not meet that because we couldn't pay our suppliers because we weren't getting paid by our customers.
People don't realize though, like if you're in retail's a hard business, and a company can go bank. You can ship all this product to a company, a big corporation, whatever. They can file bankruptcy. You can already have been paid for the product, and they could try to ask for the money back and not give you any of the product back. Like that's a lot of nerve.
No, it is. Well, I think the learning point here was growing too quickly can be catastrophic, right? So, you can drown in opportunity. You can drown in new business. If you're growing too quickly and you're not fully capitalized for that growth, and you can't withstand the losses that come with growing too quickly. And we'll talk about that when we get to our Fannie Mae days, because we had a little bit of a repeat, but a little bit different. When you're undercapitalized, it's catastrophic, right? You're trying to hold. Basically, you're trying to race a boat and pull the water out at the same time. At some point, it's going to catch up with you. So that was a tough one for us, because it was definitely for me, it was an ego. Like it bruised my ego because, I'm a young guy.
Like your first big company.
Well, I'm a young guy. People will come in, they say, who's the owner of this operation? I'd say it's me, right? And here we have this 20,000 square foot facility. We had probably, 80 people working on a production line. There was a lot of automation. Mm-hmm. I was very proud of that. And that was my first real lesson in, you have to separate yourself from the business and not make it so emotional.
The business can't be your identity.
No, and then because it was,
because businesses come and go.
No, and the thing is even if that was successful, the trend may have changed, and that that business may not gone away just because trends change. But it definitely was. It was. I took it hard. That's probably why I didn't tell you, right? And then when I did tell you, hey, we're going out of business, that was tough. That was really, really tough for us. And it was like, what do we do next? And so I know that's what kind of got us back into real estate, because I know we were kind of like really bummed out. And your brother said, hey, why don't you come?
I just remember we were sitting on the back of your truck one day.
Yeah, we were.
Sitting on a truck bed, just kind of bumming out. And then... previous to that, right?
Yeah, and we were.
Or no, did we go to Minnesota or not?
No, we hadn't gone. You basically said, "Hey, my brother said."
Yeah, so I have this brother who was in real estate and in Minnesota, and making like money hand over fist. Had his whole family employed. He was doing foreclosure stuff. Like Minnesota is a whole different animal. They have a redemption period. We mentioned that last time, and but bottom line, they were basically dealing with people who were in foreclosure or had already lost their properties because there's a redemption period over there. And I don't know, buying it back. I don't know what he was doing.
He was buying it.
Here it'd probably be illegal.
No, he was buying it with investor money, and he was renting it back to the original owner. And then they were trying to work out the redemption. They were trying to work out the redemption period, and so that was kind of his hook there. And I think it was it was legal, and I think
it was legal there.
I don't think it's legal now.
It's probably considered predatory.
No, I think it's illegal now. I think it's illegal now. But he was doing very well with that. I mean, he was doing 30, 40 homes. They were doing month.
He had like so many homes. So bottom line, I was like, and my brother was like a big hippie pot smoker, was not a real estate guy at all, yet he was making all this money off real estate. His whole all his kids were in it, everything. So I was like, okay. And we had this background of real estate from GE Capital. So I'm like, hey, why don't we just do this? Because if he can do that in Minnesota, what could we do in California? That was kind of my thought process. So that was kind of how we got back into real estate.
It is.
And actually, when I was at GE Capital, even though we didn't sell real estate or anything like that, I had gotten my real estate license, didn't I?
Well, you didn't get your license, but you took in all the courses to get your license.
Yeah, back then you literally went to college to take these courses, which is crazy. But I didn't take the test. But anyways, I had gotten my real estate license. I don't know if you did or not.
Oh, we didn't know. Neither one of us had our license. So I remember we started a company before we got our license because that's just what we do.
And it was called West Coast Property Specialist.
Yes. Which that company is now dead. We've moved on. We've restructured, but we'll get in that later. But so that was our initial company. We both got our license. We
got our real estate license.
We went. So we got our license and we went and we signed up at a Century 21.
Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
I went to a Wednesday meeting, and I remember they were talking about Thomas guides, so for old school guys, yes. Thomas guides. They were giving away a free Thomas guide, and I was listening to these people talk, and I left, and I said, there's no way in hell I'm ever going back to that freaking office again.
Me too. I went to one of those. Did we go together?
Yeah, we went together. It was just bad.
It was bad. We went to one.
It was just
formal real estate
just wasn't,
thing.
It wasn't professional.
It wasn't us.
It wasn't what we wanted. Having come from corporate, we thought maybe it'd be a little bit more corporate. It wasn't that either. It felt very hokey. It felt like, very hokey at the time. And
but we were kind of like, oh, we can do this. We can meet these people.
So I remember we put it out in the paper. We found a broker out of Orange County. We made him our corporate broker.
Yeah, we just hired a broker.
And basically he was like, hey, do whatever you want to do and just let me know what you're doing. And we basically, from there, started our company. We started in real estate.
That's kind of our specialty, doing what we want.
No, we did. And we had zero oversight. We had a total of 2 or 3 brokers before we qualified to become our own brokers, because you have to wait a 2-year period before you take the test. And during that time, I think we had zero oversight. Like, no broker asked us what we were doing.
Wild.
They never asked us to see the trust account stuff.
Yeah, they just wanted their whatever. It was like $500.
Yeah, they just wanted their money. They didn't really care. And so we started, and I remember we weren't really sure what we were doing. So in the early days,
we did trustees
or
tax
we did a lot of knocking on doors for NODs. So notice of defaults. Oh, yeah. Hey, your house is in foreclosure. Maybe we can help you.
That was a big deal back then. And why was that? Because it was the recession.
Well,
No.
It was.
Where are we?
It was right before the refi boom, right in early 2000s.
Yeah, I think it was before 2000. No, 9/11 happened.
Yeah, 9/11 was in 2001. So it was right in that time period. So right in that time period, it was like right in the cusp of the refi boom. So we started knocking on doors.
Great.
We got some listings.
We should note that back then, for new agents, if you're a real estate agent, you just needed your license. You could do loans. You didn't have to have an NMLS license.
No, exactly.
Which was great. So an agent can do loans and whatever
we
wanted.
So we were doing loans. We were doing hard money loans. We would facilitate hard money loans for people that were in foreclosure, needed a bridge to just get past it. We were successful in buying.
We bought a second
trustee from a bank.
Explain that, because.
Yeah. So the homeowner had a first and a second. The second was with a small regional bank, and it was, I think at the time, the second was like $35,000. I bought the second for like $4,000. Basically contacted the bank, said, look, the homeowner is in foreclosure. Unless you step up, you're going to get wiped out because you're a second, and the first is in foreclosure. And so the only way that the second can protect their interest would be they have the right to bring the first current and basically then start their own foreclosure. They weren't going to do it. They sold me the loan for like $4,000. Boom, done deal. The guy owned.
In a foreclosure market, that's a good.
Well, and the guy owned. I know the guy. Right. He owed like $8,000 in just back payments or something like that on the second, plus the balance. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, a week after we bought it, he somehow brought his first current, and
it was a miracle.
And brought his second current, and we immediately made it all back. And then 6 months later, he refinanced the $35,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we got, we got our,
name.
we got Joe Coley. Yeah. Yeah, he was. So and I remember he would call.
Figure his face too.
I remember he would call and say you'd call our phone system and it would say for the mortgage department press 1, whatever the case is, and he'd say, where are you guys at? This sounds like a big company, and we didn't want to tell him that we were in a tough shed in our backyard, but we had a very
now they call it an ADU.
Yeah. So, but we did a couple of different. We explored different things.
We hustled.
Yeah, we hustled anywhere we could find an opportunity. We could. And then we looked at. I mean, we did deals. We did some listings.
We did a bunch of loans.
Yeah. So we've done. So we've done.
Getting ahead, I guess.
Yeah. No, we didn't start doing the loans. So what happened was we were looking for that hook. We were looking for how do we make this work? How do we make it work?
We started going to
networking meetings,
real estate investment, seminars, meetups, and those were really big back then. Which I wish they were big now.
Well,
they were
but
really cool.
We were going to ones that were geared towards investors buying real estate, right? So they were basically, these were seminars that were held at local colleges. They were held 6 days a week throughout Southern California by the same organization. And what they would do is they would say, you're an average, just everyday working guy, and they'd say, hey, listen, you can buy investment properties, and they would be called armchair investments. And with this firm,
this is how the mortgage crash happened.
This is exactly how it happened. What this firm would do is they would go to developers around the country, some in California, Idaho, every place that was kind of hot, and they'd say, hey, you're building 40 homes. Give me 5 of these homes as future rental properties. They would link with a property manager in that area, and then they would come to California and they say, hey, listen, go ahead and you can buy this property in Coeur d'Alene. It's already going to come tenant occupied, and there's a lender that's in the back of the room.
Anywhere there was water.
Yeah, the lender will help you. And in those days, the lender didn't, there was very little information they needed. Mortgage companies were just spitting out loans, especially during the refi boom. They were just spitting out loans as fast as they could. And they did that for about a good 6-7 years. And so what you had was a lot of everyday working people who would say, oh, I own 6 or 7 or sometimes 10 or 15 homes.
Well, no, remember, so this was a movement. People would buy 10 properties with 0 money down over the weekend. That would be the goal. And they would say you don't even have to have a job, because it would be no income, no asset type loans.
Ninja loans.
Yeah, Ninas, Ninjas, all of that stuff. And they would basically say it doesn't matter because the rent is going to cover the mortgage, or so you might break even or cash flow, and the equity, you're going to build equity in a year, so you can just refinance or sell or whatever, and you just keep doing that. But literally, people would buy 10 properties over a weekend with 0 money. Yeah. And I remember we would go to these meetings, there'd be hundreds of people.
No, hundreds.
And then lining up to buy properties out of state, sight unseen.
Yeah.
And we were like, what is going on?
So we were trying to figure out, how do we get involved in this? And so what we did was, we met with the organizer. Took a couple of months to get a meeting with them, and we meet with the organizer.
It took 6 months.
And they said, and we're trying to get in any way we can. We see opportunity. We're entrepreneurs. We see people.
Well, we had to just explain the organizer, because he was this really weird old word. I don't think. Well, we won't mention any names, but he's a big organization. He was a super old dude. I don't know, back then maybe 60, 70.
No, he was in it. He was probably in his early 70s.
And he would talk, but he would say I have lunch with one person every day. So if you want to have lunch with me, it's not a problem. You just call my office and sign up or whatever. So I literally called his office every single day for 6 months.
Yeah. Till
we finally got a lunch appointment.
Yeah.
And then I remember when we went to his office, and he was a really weird, quirky guy. And I remember his desk had he was a hoarder.
Yeah,
I was oh my God.
His desk was the only desk in the office that had you couldn't see him behind the desk because there were so many papers.
Stacks of paperwork, 3 feet worth of paperwork all over his desk. So I was kind of concerned. Took us to this really horrible Chinese restaurant or something. And he literally asked us no questions.
No.
We wanted to be agents for this organization, because that's where the money was, obviously. But he's no. You guys, I need a property manager in Long Beach.
Done.
And we're Okay. And he was like, you two are so cute. I remember saying that.
I just remember done. Now keep in mind, we had 0 properties. We were not property managers.
We never managed a property.
Didn't even know what the hell
life.
Property management was, right? Like, done.
Never really, like,
he said he needed it, and we said done, right? And so.
Which, fake it till you make it, people.
So he said to me, this evening or the next evening, there's an event. Will you come speak because I need a property manager to speak? So we're
like, yeah,
So we said, yeah,
course.
absolutely. So we go to this event. And we're in the back of the room. There's probably about 250, 300 people at this event.
It was like in Irvine or
if you're afraid of public speaking, this was not where to go. And so I remember there was, and I have some clients still from this event. I just want you to know. So I hope they don't listen to this portion of it. But there was books in the back about investing, like pamphlets you would make, like, maybe 10, 15 pages long. One was on property management, and I remember picking it up and reading through it going, what the hell is property management? Okay, I mean, I understood the concept, but what are the details? And I remember reading this book real quick.
Like Cliff Notes.
Went up on stage, and I basically bullshitted for like 20 minutes, took questions, had a Q&A session.
Made everything up.
The Q&A session was so long, they had to cut us off. He's like, okay, we got to get other speakers up here. There's a lender coming next or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But
the hilarious part was he totally recommended us, said just listen to whatever these guys say, and he literally knew nothing about it.
Which was crazy is he never gave us any of his homes. That was the funny thing.
I know.
He never once
really
given
didn't.
it. So, but we started
didn't have any.
We started getting people signing up with us in property management, and okay, so I already told you in the previous episode that we did Dr. Drywall. Prior to that, I worked construction in Vegas. I grew up around construction, and so we quickly adapted to this. Okay, we're like, hey, this is the opportunity. People are coming. They need stuff. Yeah. We started doing construction.
And we didn't even have business cards, I don't think, at this point. And we were living in the house we live in now, but it was a rental.
Again with this.
But I just think it's hilarious because people always have all these all these hang-ups about I need an office, I need business cards, I need a car. But
owners came to our house. And owners,
God knows what it looked like back then.
Yeah, I remember one owner came. It was okay, but I remember one owner came to our house and he brought a sink. He bought it at Home Depot. He wanted me to install, and he thought nothing of it. Like, here you go. And I remember signing a lease on our coffee table in our living room, and the girl goes, "Well, how do I know this is real?" And I'm like, "Really? You're at my house? Like, what moron would do a rental scam at his own house?" But I mean, whatever.
But it just goes to show you, if you have hustle, you don't need anything. You don't even need a business card. You just need you.
No, and so so look here's what we did. We saw the opportunity. Again, we're just thinking, how do we make money? How do we make money? It's all we're looking at is mass volume of people. So what we did was we started assembling a list of investors on our own that we were meeting through this network. And so what we would tell them is, listen, we'll tell you when there's investable properties in the area. And so I remember compiling a list of probably at least 100 people, right? 100 people that said they were ready to buy, they're ready to go there. And
well, the golden ticket was, back then there was a newsletter that went out, and it wasn't in the email. I think it was print.
Yeah, they did. They printed.
And they literally at the seminars, they would pass out this folded, printed newsletter, and the golden ticket was if your little name and number was in the newsletter under whatever category, your phone would blow up. Yeah. And I don't mean your cell phone. Do we even have cell phones back then?
No cell phones. No cell phones. It was all landlines.
And that's literally the beginnings of our real estate career.
Yeah. So, but look, here's what we did. I want to talk about what we did, how we maximize this. We didn't just sit back and wait for property management leads. We started telling people, hey, you want to invest? We'll find property for you. So we would compile this list. Thursday, everyone knows, if you're an agent, Thursday is the day that you post your properties online. Thursday morning, boom, I'd hit the MLS. I would look immediately for the city that I know that was the most rentable, and I would just focus on one city. I would find the properties that were 3 to 4 bedroom within the right price parameters. I would make an appointment and go out immediately and look at the properties, and on Thursday, I would spend all day looking at properties. I would come home. I would download my pictures. I would put together a performa. We built a performa that said, this is the property, this is how much we estimate it needs to get it ready for rental, this is what we think it can rent for, and cash flow. And we would ROI, email this list to all, say, 100 people on Friday. By Friday morning at 10 o'clock, we were writing offers probably six, 7 offers. And I don't mean 6, I mean like 6, 7 properties with multiple offers, and we were getting these deals. We were getting them because they were fast. We were
and we would do the loan.
Yeah, so we were able to get an offer in before they even had an open house. So they would accept the offer. Not only were we doing the loan, we were doing the real estate transaction. We were doing the construction on it. And I'm talking, we come in, we fully paint your house, new carpet, whatever it needed to get done on it. And then we would lease the property and manage the property. So we was all so for an investor, for an investor, and I would say a lot of these people weren't really investors. They're
mom and pop.
They were junior investors, and unfortunately, a lot of them did lose these homes during the foreclosure crisis. But
that's another story.
We did all of this for them. So basically, we saw an opportunity, we jumped on it, and we maximized everything we can do. We were working around the clock, and I'm going to tell you how hard we were working. So today's day, if you have an employee or somebody gets pregnant, or you're listening, you get pregnant, you go on maternity leave after 3 months of being pregnant. Okay, this isn't how it worked. Mia was pregnant with our son, who is now our sound engineer right now during this video. She was pregnant with him and worked all the way up until the day before labor. He was born. She spent the night in the hospital. We left the hospital that morning. She saw the tag on her from the hospital. We drove to the
hospital bracelet.
We drove to the office
with the little basket
because
thing.
She was her own TC on that deal. She
yeah,
was doing,
and I
she
had
had
loans
mortgages.
to process.
So literally, our son came and sat in his car seat, 2 days old, in the office before he ever saw the house, right? But we did what we had to do. We hustled.
That was normal, yeah. And then for the whole time, I'm like breastfeeding in the back. There was no time off.
No,
but it wasn't a problem.
But
That's
it was.
What we
But
did.
we're talking the refi boom. We're talking the housing boom. Like things were crazy.
It was an exciting market, actually.
Yeah, things were crazy. We put a listing up. Boom, it was gone in a day. I mean, it was just crazy. Like we were running like crazy.
And as far as the loans go, I just want to mention, like, we did not know anything about processing loans. So we worked for G Capital, but we worked on the insurance side. Yeah. So we literally knew zero. That literally has to be a whole episode in itself because that was Wild West.
Yeah, and so look at that was great, and we were growing. We were hiring staff. We were getting service trucks for our construction division, and and then it hit. It hit really fast. It hit really hard.
Well, no, there were things before that. I think that has to be part 3.
What part? No, that came to an end.
A really good, but you didn't even mention like the crazy exciting times where like I just remember like this one dude wanted to buy a condo in Chino, and I think he was like $100,000 was his budget, which back then was fine, like whatever, a normal 2-bedroom condo.
Yeah.
And we would go to, and so this was a guy who was buying. So I just remember I haven't taken that many buyers in my career out and about, but the one time I did, we went around to a couple of properties. I just remember people had whiteboards in their living room, literally with the highest offers.
Oh, I remember that.
And whenever we started out, say like 3 p.m., condos were $100,000. By the end of the showing time, let's say by 6 p.m., condos were like $250. It like literally.
Well, I don't know if it was that drastic, but it did go up.
It was crazy. But I remember like there were people who were like, okay, they were just writing offers on business cards. Sellers had whiteboards in their living room. Like, okay, well, this agent just offered this. There was no time for like formal, proper offers. And I just remember I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we got super lucky. We had just the house that I'm complaining about, the rental house, we had just bought.
We had bought it at a great price.
For like $160-ish. And it was literally like going up like by the day.
She complains about the house that is like so incredibly cheap in a neighborhood
now
that
it's
is
like in the 8s. But
yeah, it's in the 8s, but
I literally saw the market leap in every single day, but that day it literally leaped like 50, 100 grand. We saw
that during COVID,
and I haven't seen that since. That was an anomaly.
we did see that during COVID in Arrowhead. We went up and looked at the property.
Yeah, that is true.
And then we got down the hill and talked to the agent. He goes, oh, well, that price just went up like 300 grand. You better offer more because there was so many people.
Yeah,
but that was different. People were escaping lockdown and going to areas that were less repetitive.
But yeah, that was a time. That's all I have to say.
So it was definitely the Wild West up until 2008, and then it stopped. And this is where we see a lot of like similarities a little bit today, where agents began to make excuses. We all did the same thing. Well, it slowed down because it's the holidays.
We need to save that for We need to save that for part 3.
No, I know, but we can this be like a 9-part series?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Okay, well okay, so we're gonna end it at, we get up through 2008.
We're gonna end it at the market was crazy. Sellers had whiteboards.
Yeah.
People were doing offers on business cards.
And to be fair, the first episode we got through about 7 to 8 years. The second episode here we got about 8 years. We got through about 8 years. So the next one we'll get through the next 8 years or whatever. That's about what we're getting in 30 minutes. But yeah, no, it was crazy. I want to definitely continue on the path and throw it as a teaser, because if you're listening and thinking we've done a lot of crazy stuff, it gets even better, because wait till we tell you about the fact that we delivered 10 million Amazon packages during COVID. And I don't mean 10 million in a giant truck. I mean 10 million door-to-door, individual, one by one.
That's like part 5.
So, there's a lot of crazy stuff, right? But we do a lot. We hustle. We definitely hustle. We definitely look for opportunity. And so we're hoping that, obviously, sharing this is, I know the first episode was part 1 was already getting a lot of traction. We got more than 3 people listening.
4, I think.
No, my goodness, 4.
Okay. Bye.
Are you trying to say you're done?
We're done.
All right, we're done. All right, we'll see you guys.
No one needs a wrap up.
We'll see you guys next week. All right, take it easy. Bye. Hey guys, this is Damien. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble about real estate and property management. Don't forget to check out all our social media and visit our website for wholesale property management. You can find the link in the bio. If you have topics, questions, or crazy situations you want us to talk about, send us a message. See you on the next episode of ModTalk.